Hello everyone, my name is Longinus, and I joined Rec Room in 2021, February. Back then, I didn't exactly know what Rec Room was, but all I knew was that it was new to VR, and I was just, you know, looking for a new game to play. And apparently, Rec Room showed up. I thought to myself, could this be perhaps just another kid's game? But as time went on, this was not the case. My first quest, as compared to other Rec Room players, was kind of different. My experience was,
Press the start
perhaps
button on the
somewhere,
scoreboard to play.
coach, perhaps somewhere out there, some Rec Room player first quest was also Jumbotron, but honestly, to me, all of this back then was fairly unique. It was a very unique experience in of itself. See, this was my first outfit, Jumbotron themed. And back then, I didn't exactly know how to remove or customize my avatar, so I was constantly stuck with a bandana and a belt around my waist. But as time went on, within Rec Room, I became more and more obsessed with the whole thing of questing in of itself. Besides from Jumbotron, I began trying out other, Rec Room original quests such as Golden Trophy, Crimson Cauldron, as well as Isle of Lost Skulls. We didn't exactly have Crescendo on Quest 2 at the time, and honestly, I feel like quests in of itself is one of the things that made Rec Room unique. As far as I know, I've never really experienced anything quite similar to the idea of quests in Rec Room itself. Of course, there are other games with similar themes like Minecraft where you beat the Ender Dragon, or, perhaps some other end goal that you work towards. But this in of itself, to me, in my opinion, is quite frankly unique to Rec Room, and I actually like that. I'm gonna miss quests. I'm gonna miss questing, of course. But enough of that. My journey in Jumbotron went from being completely new to this, even unable to use perhaps even the burst rifle, as I didn't exactly know how to reload these until I found out later on that you could reload them by actually pulling on this. But as time went on, I learned how to solo most of the quests, if not all of them at this point, and whether or not I was successful in doing so, I had fun, and that's all that matters in Rec Room. Then came along my PvP journey. Around when perhaps it was about 2021, 2022, around that time. My memory's a little bit fuzzy. All I remember was joining this room, Prison Life. Back then, prisoner outfits were red instead of orange. We had a giant climbing wall. We had, like, a pipe or something like that going up there on that wall. But then again, this map has quite the sentimental value to me. I met most of my friends list here. We actually ran into good people, bad people, people in between. And to be honest, although it's kind of a toxic community, as for most PvP and PvPs in general, whether it be in Rec Room or across any other game, well, once you actually get to know some people, it can be some really good friends. It's also in here that I own my skills in wall glitching, as well as PvP in general, as this map has, as you can see, quite a lot of walls, And I'm gonna be honest, I'm thankful for the amount of experience I actually learned here, as well as all the skills I've learned here, it's it has helped me a lot in a lot of aspects, whether it be in daily Rec Room, just playing Rec Room in general, like doing quests, where my PvP skills help me aim better in quests, as well as faster reflexes in general, or wall glitching. That actually helped like a lot in basically every single scenario. Around 2024, about a year or so ago, right now it's 2026, June 1st, well, I started getting bored of PvP. Community was getting toxic, and Rec Room Studio got added. Lots of changes were made. So I decided to move on to a new chapter, building. To me, back then, the concept of building itself was very foreign. It was complicated, complex. To me, it was like doing the impossible. But then again, I never truly tried. So around 2024, I made my first car, this BMW M5, a rally buggy skin. This cemented the idea that I had to start building, drivable cars in Rec Room. I was actually inspired by this model right here, this Nissan Skyline GTR R34, which I'm sure a lot of you would actually recognize. This is a public build, like a lot of people have published this, republished. I don't even know who the original owner is, but when I saw this actually inspired me to build more and more cars as well. Especially the neon headlights, as you can see here. They're bricks, simple bricks, but yet it looks good. To me, back then, this was good. At some point, I was actually confronted by several members of the car community. They told me that, of course, the usual slander and all that, just regular bullying, harassment, as we can say. See, back then, my builds, honestly speaking, by today's standards, are genuinely shit. But those words, as said by them, a scammer, actually was more or less kind of fuel for me to keep going, to do better, to actually perhaps include more detail into my builds. Thus began Legacy, a new series of cars where I was to actually perhaps add like detailed headlights, even functioning parts, CV2 or CV1. I could say, in a rather arrogant way, well, I kind of pioneered the whole working air conditioners, as well as working headlights in cars itself. I have yet to see actually anyone else do the same in their cars. Over time, I learned more and more about circuits, and as well as, of course, circuit components such as pistons, which I used to make convertibles, trigger volumes, and interaction volumes. I would like to credit Funny Guy, the helicopter maker for Idenu, for his use of interaction volumes, as that actually helps a lot in creating stuff where, trigger volumes wouldn't usually work. As you can see behind me, this was my first LaFerrari model, this was my second, and this one was my final one. There was quite an amount of detail went into this, and to be honest, back then, this was good enough. But as time went on, of course, my standards rose exponentially. I started building more and more legacy cars every single day, saying to myself that I had to do better. I had to mass produce, yet at the same time, produce somewhat of a decent quality. As of today, I've built over 600 cars, grand total, about approximately 620 or so cars. Most of them of somewhat decent detail. As I sit here and think to myself, in these 2 years or so, actually less than 2 years, I started building in like 2024. Oh wait, today pretty much marks 2 years. I began in June, around June 2024, so yeah, it's been 2 years. Look, haters will hate. People will hate on you, whatever you're doing. You know, they will still find a way to hate on you, whether it be because of jealousy, low self-esteem, or spite. Just simple spite. And honestly, all I can say is I've met a lot of toxic people, but don't let that get to you. Just keep pushing. Keep pushing on and on. Eventually, you'll be satisfied. Just eventually. Just a matter of when. Just keep pushing. At the end of the day, Rec Room to Manny simply be just a game. But to me, it will be forever one of the best games I've ever played, if not the best. This was basically my second home. In the virtual world, of course. And again, honestly, I'm gonna miss this game. Whether it be the building, how simple it is, or perhaps the PvP aspect, or quests even. And most importantly, the people here that I've met. Finally, there are some people that I would love to actually give a shout out to. To begin with, Pop Fizz Perry. Right now he's changed his name so I couldn't find him anymore. He kind of unfriended me, but that doesn't matter. He kind of guided me through Jumbotron through my early days, and I would also like to thank him for that. Moving on is in the PvP community is BMW. He's always been there for me, and honestly, I can't thank him enough for that. I would also like to thank Greek. Many of you know him as Terrorist, you know, the screen mode. So he has, contrary to popular belief, he's actually a really nice person. He may seem rough on the outside, but once you actually get to know him, he's probably one of the nicest people I've ever met. Also, shout out to Toms, one of the most polite people I've ever met on this game, genuinely. Like, he's just nice in general, and really polite. As compared to the perhaps even hundreds of kids I've seen on this game, for his age, he's very mature. Now, I'm not exactly glazing anyone that I've just mentioned, but honestly, they were some of the most genuine, if not the most genuine people I've actually met on this game. And I'm grateful that I actually met them. And of course, guys, remember to always give it your Rec Room best. Thank you.